maybe it's 2 meds, maybe it's 4, maybe it's 8, maybe it's 12 and or more. And your pharmacist, your doctor is not explaining it to you. Well, we've got a great call right here. We've got pharmacist Amanda Yue that's going to break down that hamster wheel when it comes to things like dealing with blood sugar and the medications, the statin medications, the metformin, the GLP-1 medications, everything from an expert pharmacist that has been on this journey that understands it better than probably any of us do. So stick with me right here. I'm going to get Amanda on right now as we get to hear from an expert and getting off of that hamster wheel of pharmaceuticals.
Right? We're facing an epidemic of type 2 diabetes and obesity. Let me do this real quick here. All right, yeah. All right, so obesity has reached an epidemic levels, not just here in the US, but around the world. Over 1 billion people worldwide are now classified as obese, and over 500 million are living with diabetes, and vast majority is type 2. These conditions, I'm not talking about type 1, I'm talking about type 2 diabetes and obesity. They don't just coexist, they feed each other. Excess body fat, especially around the abdomen, lead to insulin resistance. All right, so here is the prevalence of type 2 diabetes on the rise, as you can see, since 1958. And statins and metformins have been around for over 30 years. I've been a pharmacist for over 30 years now. And if these medications are working, we should not be seeing this type of data here. So type 2 diabetes is no longer a disease of old age either. It's a full-blown epidemic impacting younger and younger populations. We're seeing more people diagnosed in their 30s, even teens, and in children. This isn't just about blood sugar. It's about insulin resistance and our modern environment that our bodies are not designed for.
Big time.
Here, I'm sure you've seen this before. I don't know how many people are new here. We have this call on a weekly basis. So
Amanda, this is crazy.
Here, approximately 98 million American adults are living with prediabetes, and more than 80% of them
Amanda,
don't know that they have it. All right.
Wow.
I borrowed these slides from Dr. Bickman from our RISE event last Friday, or this past Friday. Most people, well, let me see here. Okay. All right. So what you're seeing here, you're looking at a timeline here, and it tells a story that most people never hear. On the left side over here, insulin levels are already rising, right? That's the very beginning of insulin resistance. And it doesn't happen overnight, guys. It usually triggers by years of ultra-processed foods, chronic stress, poor sleep, and inactivity. Here's the tricky part. Your blood sugar, A1C, can stay perfectly normal for years. But the truth is, insulin resistance can be brewing for 10 to 15 years before you ever see it reflected in your labs.
That's nuts.
Why? Well, because the body is compensating. The pancreas is working overtime, pumping out more and more insulin to keep blood sugar stable. So on the left side here, you can see the insulin is rising, but blood sugar is still staying low at a normal level because while insulin keeps creeping up. So this is what we call the silent phase. You go in for a checkup, right? Your A1C is tested and it looks great. You're told everything is fine, but underneath, damage is already happening. to your arteries, to your brains, to your liver, to your hormones. During this phase, you might be told that you might have high blood pressure, you have high cholesterol, you're gaining weight, or you're constantly fatigued. But since your A1C is still in the normal range, you're told, oh, you're fine. Just keep an eye on it.
That's what my doctor
No real action needed, right? How many of you guys been told that?
Yeah.
But what if you
Hopefully.
ask for a fasting insulin, right? If you were to test a fasting insulin, you'll likely see a problem long before blood sugar ever goes up. Eventually, after years of compensation, the pancreas becomes so exhausted and the cells stop responding to insulin. Now is when you get to an elevated of A1C and you get a diagnosis of prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, as you can see in the graph here. So insulin is working really hard to bring down glucose until it can't anymore, and then you get a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. That's when insulin stops not working as well. Okay, so the cells are now not responding to insulin as it should.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we don't wait for a high A1C. You don't want to wait until you get a high A1C. You want to pay attention to the earlier signs and high triglycerides,
Right.
Your weight gain, your high blood pressure,
That's it,
chronic
right?
fatigue.
This is it.
And take actions
How many
before your A1C ever get elevated, because healing is so much easier and more effective when we catch it early.
Yes. 100%.
So here are some of the diagnoses that are related to insulin resistance. I'm sure you've seen this picture, this diagram
If you
before,
haven't, watch
right?
it. Look at
Insulin
this.
resistant has its hands in almost every major chronic conditions, and I dispense medication to treat each one of these. And like Rob said, 3, 4, 5 blood pressure medication attacking to bring down blood pressure from different mechanisms, where if we address insulin resistant, we can resolve most of these
I have about
conditions.
5 of these.
All right, let's see. So let's see where here. All right, here we go. So common drugs that are linked to insulin resistance. So the first one is a steroid, right? Like prednisone, dexamethasone, hydrocortisone. These are prescribed to reduce inflammation and suppress the immune system. Why they are life-saving in acute situations, repeated use, chronic use will lead to high glucose levels due to promoting of glucose neogenesis, so glucose production in the
Morning,
liver.
LP.
The beta blockers and the thiazides, these are blood pressure medications. So the beta blockers, how this can contribute to insulin resistance is that they decrease glucose uptake in the muscle. And the thiazide, they deplete your potassium levels. And of course, statins, I'm going to go over statin in more details. Statins are the most prescribed medication for cholesterol. But what statin does, it can impair glucose metabolism and increases HbA1c, directly put you at risk for more insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. Antidepressant, these medications, these medications can increase your appetite, and some of them are obesogen, and which leads to weight gain.
Wow.
So statins have been the go-to drug, right, for lowering cholesterol for decades. So over 200 million people worldwide are prescribed statins.
That is crazy.
Heart disease is still the #1 cause of death, guys. So if statin has been working to reduce heart disease, we should not be seeing this kind of statistics. Statin lower cholesterol, but they don't address the root cause. So according to the American Heart Journal, most heart attacks occur in people with normal or near normal cholesterol. So cholesterol is not the villain. We need cholesterol, right, for brain function, for hormone synthesis. So how statin contribute to insulin? Statin blocks the CoQ10, which is critical for mitochondria energy production. When mitochondria are underpowered, your body can't produce energy efficiently. And the result, of course, fatigue, reduced physical activity, and slow down the metabolism, setting the stage for weight gain. Statin also impairs how cells respond to insulin, especially in the muscles and in the liver tissues.
Right.
So this drives insulin resistance. Your body needs to release more insulin to do the same job. Insulin resistant, right? And as we know, more insulin equals to more fat storage, especially around the midsection, which is one of the 5 markers for metabolic syndrome. Research shows that statin increases fasting glucose. So this is a direct side effect of statin. Increases your HbA1c, and you can find this in the drug insert directly. This is one of the side effects, okay? This means a person can move from pre-diabetes to type 2 diabetes by being on statin. So statin is supposed to protect you from having a cardiovascular event, but it sets you up for insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, and type 2 diabetes itself is one of the strongest risk factors for cardiovascular disease. So now we're just stuck in this vicious cycle. Remember, cholesterol is the building block for testosterone, for estrogens, and for cortisol.
Wow.
Right? When statins lower your cholesterol too much, hormone production drops, so low testosterone. I see men, younger men, not just elderly, younger men come to the pharmacy for testosterone injections and creams. And low testosterone will lead to muscle loss and fat gain. Again, slowing down your metabolism and increased insulin resistance. Statins can trap you in this cycle of insulin resistance, weight gain, more inflammation, higher insulin resistance, and more fat storage. So you can see this cycle, this vicious cycle, right? So another drug I want to expand upon is metformin. Why metformin can keep you stuck in this weight gain cycle. Let's take a look here. So metformin is the most prescribed med for type 2 diabetes. On the surface, metformin looks like it's a helpful tool, right? It lowers blood sugar. It can improve insulin sensitivity. It sometimes suppresses appetite. That's why it's often assumed to help with weight loss. But here's the catch. Long term, metformin can actually block weight loss or even contribute to weight gain for some people, because it interferes with the body's energy and metabolism in a deeper way. So let's talk about what's happening underneath the surface. When someone is on metformin long term, and many people have been on it for years, like my mother-in-law, over 15 years, metformin reduces your mitochondrial function, just like statin. That means your body's energy factory slows down. With less energy being produced, metabolism slows down and people feel more tired, making it harder for you to move and exercise and burn fat. It also suppresses the thyroid. So this is another that people don't talk about, okay? Particularly the active form of thyroid, the T3, the free T3. The active form, when your thyroid produces hormones, it produces an inactive form, which is the T4. T4 gets converted into the active form of T3 via your gut, via your liver. How many people do you know have gut issues and liver congestions? Many. All right. So it's a problem, it's a big problem that's under diagnosed. When T3 is low, weight loss become weight loss becomes harder because T3 controls your metabolism. So metformin also have shown to increase cravings, especially for carbs due to disrupted energy signaling and nutrient deficiency, like B12 and folate, and of course, leading to neuropathy because folate and B12 is needed for nerve function. Let's
Doctors don't want
see.
to
It
say
also
anything about this.
disrupt gut gut microbiome, I'm sorry, which
That's
plays a
huge.
big role in hormone regulations and blood sugar control and inflammation. So a disrupted gut can send the wrong signal to the brain. Remember, 90% of our serotonin are being produced
Dr. Diener
in your
talked
gut.
about that.
Help fuel more insulin resistance. So instead of solving the problem, instead of addressing the root cause, we have been using medication to treat the symptoms, and we get stuck in this cycle of insulin resistance, leading to all these diagnoses and just keep us stuck in this pharma loop, right? So how do we get out of here? How do we break away from this loop and get off this merry-go-round? Shannon will talk about the protocols that we have. So to get from here to here, we need to address the root cause. We use the Feel Great system as our tool. And this is how I was able to help my mother-in-law reverse her type 2 diabetes after being a diabetic for over 15 years. And she was on a statin for over 20 years. She was diagnosed with showing signs and symptoms of early signs of Alzheimer's dementia a year and a half ago. And with this protocol, she was able to lower her triglyceride from 242 to 99, improved her HDL, and she was able to get off the wheelchair. She lost 20 pounds and lower her A1C. And her memory is returning. She's back to her old self. So thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Amanda, that was amazing.
So
Let
we're gonna hear
me
from Shannon here.
get back in here. Okay, there we go. Awesome.
All right, thanks,
Well,
Shannon.
guys, we will have Amanda back on at the end. If y'all have questions, just remember we can't recommend anything as far as starting or stopping medications, but we can give you some general information. So I am going to talk about alternatives to medication, right? What can we do naturally? What is within our control to address all of these issues that are affecting 93% of us? So
Right.
let me share my screen.
All right, Amanda. Actually, oh, it's Shannon.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Can y'all see that?
Yep.
Amanda, can y'all see that? Nod, because I can't see y'all. Hopefully y'all can.
Yeah, we
Yes,
can
I
see
can
it.
see.
Okay, perfect. So guys, what do you think the problem is? When we look around, like I said, I've been a dietitian for 19 years. The last 5 years of my career, I spent in nephrology sales, meaning I went to nephrologists which are kidney doctors, and I went to dialysis clinics to talk about a medication called a phosphate binder that people on dialysis need in order to live. Okay. And throughout those 5 years, nothing hurt my heart more than passing these hospitals and these clinics that are completely full. For those of you who have no family or friends on dialysis, you probably have never seen a dialysis clinic
Yeah, it's sad.
in your neighborhood. But if you do know someone that is on dialysis, or a friend or family, and you know where their clinic is, be surprised, because there are clinics on every corner. I can't even tell you how many dialysis clinics that I covered within the top half of Georgia. I probably had over 100 dialysis clinics just in like the top half of the state, the top west of the state. And these clinics had on average of 100 patients. For those of you who don't know, when you are on dialysis, you're on it for life, either till you die or till you get a kidney transplant. And the two main causes of dialysis are diabetes and hypertension. The problem that we have as a nation, as a world, are food problems. They're dietary diseases. They're not diseases caused by a lack of a statin or a lack of a blood pressure pill.
Right.
For those of you who blood, God did not create us to have to rely on medication to be healthy. So we have a huge
God created
problem, okay?
God created
Why
food
is
to
my
help
screen
us.
not moving? There we go. We have a huge problem. 93% of our country is sick. I want y'all to grasp that number for 1 second. What that means is 7 out of 10 people in the room with you are sick. You can't help but look around. And once you are aware of these things, if y'all want to put in the chat, how many of you, once you see, you can't unsee? You're like, oh my gosh, that person has insulin resistance. Oh my gosh, there's someone else with insulin resistance. And on top of that, 50%, half of our country has prediabetes. Y'all, we have a big problem. And here's the ironic thing. There is more medication than we've ever had in our lifetime.
That's what Amanda just
More
talked
doctors, hair doctors, nose doctors, eyes doctors, heart doctors, toe doctors, fingernail doctors.
Yes. Yes.
We have all this new testing equipment. And what do we see happening? Amanda just talked about it. We have a trend like this of illness. So we're missing the problem, right? It's not lack of medication. But I want you, for those of you who are new, to think about something for a second. Think about yourself. Do you crave sugar? I'll be the first to admit I am a sugar addict, okay? But this system has really helped me manage that. How many of you have migraines or know somebody that has migraines? Are you constantly hungry? Think about it. Are you thinking about what you're having at your next meal while you're finishing your current meal? That used to be me. I'm like a bottomless pit. What about skin tags? How many of you have seen people standing in line in the grocery store with you, and it looks like you're like, their neck looks dirty. They may need to take a bath. That isn't dirt. That's skin pigmentation due from too much insulin. So are those skin tags. The dermatologist.
All right, we got it. There we go. Shannon, thank you so much. Amanda, thank you for everything that you brought into this. There we go. So talking about this whole issue, that is so very important. What we were talking about, what are the alternatives to all this medication? And if you are interested in the protocol, it is simply a tea and a fiber protocol. It helped me and my wife to reverse, Dr. G, to reverse our insulin resistance. And it has been a game changer. If you aren't familiar with it, maybe you've got questions about pharmacy and the nutraceuticals that they were talking about. The truth of the matter is, though, this is the story. This is the reality, is people getting their lives changed, right? That is key. And that was me. That was me when I was diagnosed with diabetes. I was on 4 medications. Now I'm completely unmedicated. And everything that Amanda was talking about, that Shannon was pointing to and talking about when it comes to alternatives, is what I was dealing with, what my wife, Dr. G, was dealing with. Those are game changers. Those are complete game changers. And it's not just us. It are the thousands and thousands, the millions of people here in the United States. And there is a complete alternative. That alternative Is tea and fiber? What is it? Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking, LP. What is the alternative to dealing with that? It is a tea and a fiber protocol. It is meal sequence order, what I talk about all the time, and doing intermittent fasting. I drink every morning one tea, and I'll sip on it through the course of the day, usually in the morning. All right. I take one of these and I put it in a bottle and I just shake it up and I sip on this through the course of the whole day. Every single day. That increases my body's natural GLP-1. We talked a little bit about GLP-1s, right? That increases my body's natural GLP-1, knocking out the food cravings, right? Now, we talked about statins and metformin before my biggest meals. I take this fiber matrix. This is Balance. This is a fiber matrix that's been around for over 30 years. It's in over this protocol is in over 60 countries. So wherever you happen to be, pretty sure we can get it in a lot of places. But this is shown. We talked about metformin. This actually has a B12, which is something that is negligent. That's one of the things that Amanda, the pharmacist, was just talking about. This B12 vitamin helps with neuropathy. All right, which is something that we are missing, is that B vitamin that's causing neuropathy that metformin strips from our body. All right, the University of Sydney studied this, that this works better than metformin. So that when you have this before a meal, you're bringing down that postprandial glucose spike between 28 and 40%. That's huge. That is much greater than metformin in controlling your blood sugar levels. It was also studied at the Cleveland Clinic, arguably the #1 heart hospital, where they did studies on statin medications. And if you're on a statin, and that was a big one that Amanda was talking about, this has been shown to work better than a statin medication, at least as well as lipid lowering drugs, and could be given on a population basis to lower that. When I started doing this, my triglycerides and my LDL were brought back within 4 months. All right, those were too high just by changing this, just by doing this. So I drink this before each meal that I have during the day. Or if I don't, I make sure that I have fiber. So as a nutrition coach, we talk about the meal order sequencing. If you've never heard of meal order, all right, we look to the Ohio State, we look to UCLA, we look to constant and countless studies now, actually, they just continue to grow, that we focus on fiber, that fiber is the macronutrient, or actually micro among the macros. All right. Fiber is a carbohydrate, but it is the carbohydrate that controls blood sugar. It changes the profile of the foods that we have. So we change that, changes everything. So we do fiber, fats, and proteins, 30, 60, 90, 30 grams of fiber, 60 grams of fat, at minimum of 90 grams of protein. And then we do intermittent fasting. All right. And that's where, in part, the Unimate knocks out the food cravings. And when it comes to weight loss, if you don't have a weight problem, this is not going to screw that up. We can gain weight doing that if that's your need. If you do have a weight problem, then we coach on that as well, right? And this can be a game changer. You don't lose weight to get healthy. You get healthy so you can lose weight. And part of that is controlling those insulin levels and bringing those back down so you can lose the weight, right? So this has chlorogenic acid, which is the #1 thing in nature that helps to stimulate your body's natural GLP-1. All right. That chlorogenic acid also helps to cleanse your liver. So if you're dealing with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, it's going to help with that as well. If you want a detox, there's probably no better detox here. If you are concerned about parasites, I know that's a big deal for a lot of people. This is getting your body metabolically healthy. So there is no environment when you are on this protocol that parasites are going to find it a good place to live when it comes to your body. All right. That becomes the game changer. If you're dealing with gout, that's a big one. How many of y'all are dealing with gout? This helps, again, to cleanse the liver. It helps to detox your liver. And that's where you've got all those crystals from that uric acid. It may, if you've never had gout, you might get hit with it because you didn't know that you had all that built up. It was going to come one way or another, but this does that. It also contains theobromine. So it gives you a nice steady increase of energy during the course of the day. It is $159. All right. So if you're wondering what that might cost you, it's $159 a month for a 90 packets. So it's a 30-day supply. All right, you get 90 packets. All right, you're going to get 2 teas and 1 fiber a day, or 2 fibers and 1 tea a day. All right, for that price. And you get Dr. G and I as coaches. You get one-on-one coaching. That's how we do our one-on-one coaching. All right, you can use the link there, healthyalaska.live, or you can scan the QR code if you want to get connected to that. There is a 90-day money-back guarantee. That includes the coaching. All right, if you're not happy with working with us, if you're not happy with what you see, but what I'm going to tell you is the blood work is what makes the difference. The blood, this is a change in the blood work. That's where we guarantee it. All right. And if you're feeling great, keep that in mind. We want you to feel great. And it has changed our lives. And that's what, when Dr. G and I talk about it, that's what we're talking about right here. We're talking about game change right here. We're talking about changing lives. And we're talking about many people going through. I'll show you some more of the pictures of the folks that have had their lives changed simply by starting this protocol. All right. That has been something that so many people have had. And that's medical professionals like Dr. G, like Dr. Dieter. All right. Like Roe. All right. Providers and nurses across the board that have gone through the changes that have changed their lives. All right. It can be for weight loss, but overall, it's for your metabolic health. That's the game change right there. George, I got to meet. George was known as maple syrup by his doctors. He went from, I want you to look at that number. His blood sugar was 834 to 90 in 107 days on the protocol. That's the game change. So thank y'all so much for being a part of the live today. If you've got questions, all right, make sure you can order the protocol here. You can learn more, get on our email list, connect with us as well. You can use that down there below. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. We've got videos coming out. We're actually going to be going live tonight. So if you are interested, we will be live here at 6 p.m. Dr. G is going to be presenting. We've got 2 folks that are going to come on, Kendra Kropp and David Whitmire, who've got incredible testimonies, and you're going to get a lot of great science and the stories of healing. So make sure that you check in my post about that, and we'd love to have you come be a part of it. Get on our Facebook page and join that. We are here for you. All right. None of this is costing you anything. I want you to be healthy. We want you to be healthy. I want you to ask any questions that you've got as well. That's what we're here for. So if there's something that maybe is kind of out there that you're thinking about, these are lives that I'm doing with having medical professionals coming on here talking about what they've been through in that experience. So stay tuned. I'll be going live on a regular basis. So make sure you subscribe so you know when I'm going live. Y'all, as I say every day, go get the day, make it golden, go be excellent to one another, and we'll see you back around on the flip side.